So before we get into that, we can do a small recap and remind ourselves what we learned in the previous session. Remember, we defined an essay and we said it is an analytical literary composition dealing with a specific topic. And we said that when you're planning for an essay, there are three stages that we need to go through, or three stages that we need to consider. We said the first one is the topic interpretation, which is understanding what the topic is about, and then material collection, which is collecting of data, doing research for whatever topic it is that you're writing about. And after that, we had the outlining or the planning for the essay, which is writing down an outline of the points, the main points, the supporting points as well. So we can now proceed into the essay itself. So an essay has three parts, that is the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And all these parts are relevant for your essay to make sense. They all need to be in sync. They all need to be able to connect to one another for your essay to make sense and for the essay to be smooth and have steady progress. So we are going to look at all these parts one by one and see what is contained in each part. So the first part is the introduction of the essay. This is like the door that welcomes us into your essay. And because of that, being that it is the first thing we see when we start reading your essay, it has some crucial functions. Number one, it should be able to attract and retain the attention of the reader. It should attract and also retain the reader's attention. Number two, it should raise or state the topic. And number three, it should set the tone for the essay. So let us have a look at these three functions one by one and see what we really mean. So when we say that your introduction should attract and retain the attention of the reader, what do we mean? How can we achieve this? Number one, we can achieve this by starting with a statement or a question that is catchy. For example, if your opening statement is, "Have you ever read The Thoughts of a Tree?" This will make the reader interested and curious in saying, one, can we read thoughts of trees? And two, if yes, how? So that keeps the reader there. They'll want to read at the end just to see how they can read thoughts of trees. Number two, relating the topic to the reader's interest. This is another way of attracting and retaining your reader's attention. For example, if you say this could happen to you or your friend, maybe this is something that has even happened to you as a reader. So you find it relatable. And number three, mentioning an intriguing experience that is relevant to the topic. So depending on what you're talking about, you can mention an intriguing experience. For example, Mukasa loves fish, but he has not seen even a single fillet of it in his local market in the past 6 months. So maybe this person was talking about fish or fishing activities and mentions a relevant experience or an intriguing experience that is related to the topic. So that is what we mean when we say attracting and retaining the attention of the reader. You can use those three different ways to attract your reader's attention. Number two, we have said the introduction should raise or state the topic. So you highlight clearly the subject of the essay and its importance. So for example, if you're writing an essay about the environment, so you can write, we either protect our environment or we perish. So it has stated the topic, which is protecting our environment. And lastly, the introduction of the essay sets the tone of the essay. Indicates to the reader how the topic will be handled, whether it is a narrative, a description, an exposition, a discussion, or a debate. So it is important to mention, if you're going to discuss it, you're going to describe the topic, or you're going to narrate maybe a story. That is what we mean when we say we set the tone. So as the reader goes in, they know that I am reading a narrative, or I am reading a debate, or a discussion, or a description. So the second part of an essay is the body of the essay. This is the central and most essential part of an essay. It is the part that contains the most paragraphs. It can have as many paragraphs as possible. And these paragraphs are developing the topic by looking at it from all angles. And so there are several things that the body of your essay requires to have. Number one is consist of several solid paragraphs, and each paragraph covering an aspect of the point. So when you're writing your essay, I would advise that give each point a paragraph. That will help you not be disorganized. That will help you not mix up your points. Number two, it should be well ordered with paragraphs following one another in a natural, logical sequence. So for example, maybe paragraph one is a definition of the topic. Maybe you're writing about drugs or mobile phones. So number one is first of all to define whatever it is that you're talking about. And then number two, you go to examples of drugs. And then number three, you go to the effects, and then you conclude. So you see, that is a natural sequence. And lastly, it should be coherent by showing relevant relationships among the sentences in the paragraphs that make up the essay. So be coherent. So let us see that how every sentence relates to the next sentence, or every paragraph relates to the next paragraph. And so lastly, we now have the conclusion of the essay. And this is the last part of the essay. It is what closes the essay and takes us out of the essay. And ideally, the conclusion may not be very long, because you also don't want to repeat what you have said in the introduction and in the body. So it can be quite short. Sometimes it can even be shorter than the introduction. So remember to avoid repetition in your conclusion. Avoid repeating what you've already said in the body. So let us have a look at an example of just the conclusion. The dangers lurking in illegal drugs are legion. A society that tolerates drugs risks not only the mental and physical ruin of a large number of its citizens, but also a breakdown of its legal and security systems and a possible collapse of its economy. In a nutshell, illegal drugs are the real threat to humanity and society. So when you look at that conclusion, you can see that it is short, to the point, and very coherent. It does not repeat. There's no repetition. So even if you read just the conclusion without even reading the other part of the essay, you can see there's no repetition. It just summarizes what this person has been saying. So this essay was about maybe the dangers of drugs, or the dangers of illegal drugs. And so the conclusion, I just summarized it by saying that, a society that tolerates drugs is at risk. It also says that illegal drugs are also a threat to humanity and to society. So as you are writing your essay and you're at the conclusion, remember to, your conclusion can be short, and avoid repetition. Avoid repeating what you've already written in the body. So that's it for this session. I hope you have understood and you're now able to write an essay without any problem. For further practice, you can have a look at the quiz and attempt it. Write an essay on the following topic: the importance of sporting activities. So remember, to go back first of all to the previous session or the previous video of planning the essay, and follow the steps there of how to plan for an essay, and then come to this session and now apply what you have learned. Remember that your essay will have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And then now go in and write the essay. In the coming sessions, we're going to look at different types of essays: narrative essays, descriptive. We're going to look at them and describe each of them, what they are and what they entail. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next session.